Good morning, everyone, and welcome again to today's edition of the Daily Stand-Up. My name is Lee Henson, president and founder of Agile Experience. Without any further ado, let's get started. This week, we're focusing on the top 5 things that you can change today to help your company become more agile. We started on Monday talking about limiting work in progress and understanding WIP limits and the importance of controlling the amount of work that's flowing through the pipeline so that you can get to market faster, get the feedback from your consumers, and really make decisions that make a difference. On Tuesday, we talked about increasing your team size to make it a reasonable size, to stop divvying individuals based on skill sets, and find ways to keep your teams consistent. Which leads to our third topic. Today, I want to talk about allowing the teams to swarm to get to market faster, and the importance of swarming. Now, one of the things that often throws organizations for a loop is, if we just throw more people at it, is it always going to solve the problem? It reminds me of a story I remember. I was in an organization where, they kept saying, just put more people at it, or hire more people, or do what you got to do. And it was like they had this never-ending fund that they got. The project got funded, the people got some seed funding, a round of funding. And they just, anytime a problem would come up, they would always say, well, let's see if we can put more people on it, or let's see what would happen if. And finally, it got to the point where I said, I remember when my wife was expecting our first child, I got so excited I asked her to invite 8 of her pregnant friends over because I wanted her to have the baby in a month. And they stopped and looked at me. I'm like, sometimes there's such a thing as the mythical man month, where just throwing more people at it doesn't even help. It makes it more complicated. And I realize that's contrary to what I'm saying here. But what's the difference between throw more people at it and allow teams to swarm? I think there's a completely different mentality here. Just coming in with the mindset that throwing more people at something is going to naturally make it happen faster, or that it's going to increase quality, is a misconception. But I think that if you focus on what a team really is, and you have really nice, well-formed teams, and you allow teams that have skill sets that are required in order to complete the product or service swarm to get it done, that what you're going to recognize very quickly is that you have the ability to gain feedback from your target consumers, and that you have a higher focus on quality because you're not overcrowding, but you're trying to get that product out there faster. You're trying to get that service out there faster so that you can get the feedback necessary for you to make those fine-tuning adjustments. And oftentimes I think organizations fear, what happens if we run before we walk? Or what happens if we try to run and we fall and stumble? The truth is, every organization that I've ever done coaching for at some point has stumbled. They often find themselves in a predicament where maybe they invested in something based on emotion instead of based on proving a hypothesis. Or maybe they invested in something without doing the adequate testing assumptions up front to figure out whether what they're building is the right product or service. Or maybe they didn't take time to identify personas and to make sure that they're appealing to their target audience. Other times it's as simple as the organization not having a clear vision and strategy that transcends across the product or service. So the teams don't know the why behind the what, so they don't put a whole lot of effort into building the perfect product or service. I think the key to doing this step successfully is once you have a group of people together that's capable, that can do the work, you need to figure out the best way to allow them to get that work out there in front of somebody's eyes so that you can make the fine-tuning adjustments necessary to make sure that you are building the right thing soon. One of the big losses that I see many organizations struggle with is that they'll invest or sink a whole lot of money into what they feel is a good idea, or their big breadwinner, and what they'll do is they'll spin up a bunch of projects at once. They'll kind of hone in on one and focus on it. They'll dump a whole lot of money into it only to discover, that it's not as good as they thought it was, or it's not as dynamic as they thought it was, or it doesn't solve the whole problem that they were trying to solve. I think by allowing teams to swarm in this fashion, where you get multiple teams, not so many that they don't know what's going on. I want to be clear here. I have also been in an organization where, they said, well, Agile Dad told us to swarm, so we're going to get all these teams involved. And we had someone say, but we're not building that type of product. It doesn't make sense to have this team on there. And they were right. I'm not trying to cross-pollinate to the point where you have specialists who are learning other specialist skills, I'm trying to cross-pollinate to the point where we can quickly and effectively get things to market so that we can get faster customer feedback, get our time to market out there completely shortened so that we can start realizing revenue and increase consumer satisfaction. There's no way you'll ever get to the point where you're really focused on who your end consumer is and what they want you to build unless you get the thing out there sooner. The other myth here is that a lot of people think that if you allow teams to swarm and work on an individual product or a couple of products at a time or a smaller number of WIP limit, a smaller work in progress, that you're going to miss an opportunity somewhere else. And that couldn't be further from the truth. What we see is that the organizations that do focus on honoring a WIP limit and in understanding and making sure that they're building the right thing end up building the thing right and getting it out there fast for feedback. Faster than the other parts of the organization that aren't doing this. So what winds up happening is the organizations that allow the teams to swarm are getting quick feedback and able to quickly get rid of whatever is not going to work or shift or pivot and move towards something that will work, where the organizations that stretch things out across multiple very small teams and take a long time to build it end up spending or investing a whole lot more money because they don't realize that what they're building doesn't add great value until most of the way in. I think the other myth is that people feel like they're not going to get everything done if they focus on smaller number of items at one time, and that's not true either. In fact, we've seen quite the opposite, that when organizations focus on a smaller number of items at a time, they tend to deliver more frequently, which means that they're getting more products and services to market as opposed to trying to solve everything in one foul swoop and only having a limited number of people work on it, which makes it stretch out over a longer period of time and makes whatever product or service you release simply outdated. So I think it's just important for us to stay relevant, to make sure that we're allowing our teams to swarm, that we're getting to market faster, that we're improving our end consumer satisfaction, whoever's indulging in our product or service, and that we're utilizing limited work in progress and right-sized teams to build the product or service in such a way that it can be pleasing to the end consumer and something that we can rely on for many years to come. So I hope this information was useful. As always, we encourage you to visit agiledad.com where you can learn more about this topic and any others. And we'd love to have you email us at learnmore@agiledad.com so that you can get your topic in here and so that we can have an open discussion about the things that are important to you. As always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile. Until next time, take care.